Okay, so just for your brief introduction, excuse me. Yeah, sorry for the interruption. Just for your brief update, that last time what we did, we started with the architecture of SAP S4HANA. Okay, before that, we saw how to start and stop the services. Okay, so in the last class, what we did a system check after completing the installation. Okay, we did a system check over here. I showed you how to you have to log in with the SID ADM user. You have to run R3 trans minus V to check the database availability, and then how to check the processes which are running on the operating system level. How to run the DP1 command to check all the work processes for the instance. Okay, then how to start the service. Sorry, how to check the status of SAP. How to start and stop the service and the instance. Okay. After that, we took a backup of the system DB and the tenant DB. Okay. Till here is that clear with everyone? Any doubts? Any queries?
Is there any chance to do it on hands-on, like taking backup and those things?
You will get the lab access. You can do it there, no?
Yeah, okay. Then actually it will be as of now I am not cope with, so that's why I'm not replying. Okay, sure, go ahead.
Yes. See, everything. You have the recording with you. Everything I have
Yeah,
started with it.
that I'm thinking.
You can open the recording on one side and you can just follow whatever steps. And plus, the Excel sheet is very simple. Just copy paste and you will be like moving forward. So no issue.
Yeah, yeah, that will be good
And any
to.
doubt and query, you can post in the group. This our batch group, and we will help you in that whatever issues you are facing.
Sure. Nice.
Okay. So after that, we started with the architecture. We saw what is an ERP, what is an ERP, and then we moved with the architecture for AS ABAP, that is ABAP application server. We moved with the architecture for ABAP application. We covered what is the client server architecture, one tier, two tier, three tier, and then we started up what are the application servers and what are instances. Okay, then after that we checked what are the components of an instance. Okay, there are the how many types of instance are there? Yes.
Database instance and application instance.
Okay, nice. So don't mix with the database instance right now. We are talking only about the ABAP application server.
Okay.
Inside the ABAP application server, how many types of instances did we covered yesterday?
This dialog instance, message instance, those things.
No. Let me show you that these are the three instances over here. The first one is your primary application server. This is a primary application server. This is one instance. Then you have the CS central server.
Okay, central
For ABAP
instance.
application server, you have ASCS, Central Services
Yes.
for ABAP server. So ASCS instance. And then you have your additional application server. In our system, in the system that we have installed, we only have two instances or two instances as of now. Okay. So this is my database VM and this is my application VM. Okay, yesterday I told you before starting the application server, you have to log in with the SID ADM user, okay, and check the R3 trans minus D command to check if the database is available or not. Now here you can see that it finished with 0012. Database is not possible. It says no connect possible with the database. Database type is of HDB, HANA database. So I told you like how to troubleshoot, how to check this. There is a file here in the same directory from where you executed this command, trans.log. So you have to read, you have to check the content, you have to read what is the error of this file. Okay, so here if you scroll down, you come down over here. It's a simple thing. It says connection failed. Connect failed. Connection refused. Okay, so we simply actually we already know what is the issue. The issue is that I have not started the database yet. So this is a simple. So you have to first start the database, and then only this architect minus D will execute successfully. So let me start the database. First, I need to log in with the SID ADM user. SID of the database, DB SID ADM user. So I log in over here. Now I will starting the database. Okay, I'm starting the database. The command executed, and this is the command to monitor whether the database is starting like it started or not.
Hi, Muzaffar. I
Yes,
had a
fine.
question yesterday also. I
Huh?
forgot to ask. What is that column hyphen T hyphen S? Like I only know the command till get process list.
Okay. See, so let me show you. If you execute this command by removing this part over here, so this is the command that you know. I think SAP control minus NR instance number function get process list.
Yes.
Okay. Now, if I execute this command, can you see the output?
Okay,
So
it's not
how
in
can
readable format. Like
it's very hard to identify okay which services have gone green and which is still not running. Okay, so that is the reason I'm using this command. It actually the output what it does this command is that it passes the output of this command to the column command. What the
okay,
column it does it does a tab separation. It uses a tab wherever there is a comma. Wherever there is a comma, it separates it with a tab. So that is it.
okay,
This is the reason you find this format so simple. So in this column, you can easily find out which is green and which is gray and which is red and anything more like this. I
right, right.
even have one command also. I think it is in the database directory. Just troubleshooting. Okay, troubleshooting. It's a bigger command, but the output is more, you can say, fancier than the one which we are using right now. So instead of this, if I run this command, see here you can see the ones which are started in the green option.
Nice. Is that a Python command?
No, I mean, that's a simple shell script.
Shell script.
Simple shell script, nothing else. If you see over there, it's a simple shell script. I've run a loop. Inside the loop, I'm running this command and I'm just searching for the word green and for making it a green color. If there is a red color, it will mark it a highlight as a red color. If there is something, I think there are two, three colors which it recognizes. Yellow, if there's a yellow or
Yellow,
something,
red, and green. Okay.
that is it.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you.
Yes. Okay. So, so our database is started. Now, after starting the database, I will now go and run the R3 trans minus D command again. Okay, and now you can see that that the exit code, return code is now 0000. It means it was able to connect to the database. Now, after starting the database is accessible. Now I can go to start the service. My instance, I can go with the starting my instances. Okay, so this is the command for starting my instance. See, there are two instances in my system. One is the ASCS instance, Central Services for Web Server, and the second is the primary application server. There are two instances. So I told you yesterday that if I only give the start over here, if I only give start, it will only start the instance number for which I have mentioned. It will only start 00 and it will stop. It will not start the 01 instance. And if I give 01 here, it will only start the 01 instance. So that is the reason we are. So when you give start system, it means it start the whole system. Okay, when you give the start system, whatever instances are there under this system, it will start it. And this is irrespective of your multiple systems also. If you have within the system, if you have other like you have additional application server on another system, another VM, it will start that also, it will stop that also. Am I clear in this point?
Okay, it's like start SAP command, old start SAP, like which
Yes. So
was used to start everything in that server, like
so see,
even
right,
its database SAP. Yep.
not something like that. No, it will not start the database. See, for example, if you have one, you have four application servers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you have four application server. If I give the start system, it will start the application on all the four application server. You don't have to go on each of the server and start the application. And if I give the stop system command, it will stop the application on all the system. Okay, I think leave it. We will do it practically when we do the installation of an additional application server. I will show it over there. We'll discuss that over there. So just for it, so we have started the application server. It is starting up. Okay, so what I was telling over here, I have two instances here in PC over here. So this is an example. This is my host A. This whole host, you can compare it to my system over here. This is the system. So if you see, this is my S4H day one. So you can compare the host A with my S4H day one. So on this host, I have two instances. Within the host, I have two instances. First instance is my primary application server. Second instance is my central services for ABAP. And if you compare it here on this screen, you can see two instances over here. Okay, you can see two instances. This is my ASCS, the CS instance. This is the CS instance, and this one is my primary application server instance. And how can you identify them? So you can identify with the services or the processes which are running within this instance. So the message server and the NQ server. So yesterday discussed that your central services include your message server and the NQ server. So this is the component, or these are the processes of your central service, central server instance, ASCS. So that is the reason the first one is my ASCS. In the second primary application server, you have gateway, you have ICM, you have dispatcher. And so if you compare it with the second instance, you can find it over here. This is your dispatcher, this is your gateway, and that is your ICM. So my second one is my primary application server instance. Is it clear? Everyone, is it clear with all of you? How you identify the instances?
Yes.
Okay, so right now I don't have an host B. I have still not installed an additional application server. So this instance is not here in picture right. Okay. So you can only compare with this scenario. So we only have one host A right now. Okay, for the application server, and this is our host D for our database. So right now we are on this level, and this level we have our Bayesian host. So from a Bayesian host, we are connecting to our application server, and the application server in the background is connecting to your database. So can we move forward?
Yes, please.
Okay, so now this is let me move to the next screen. Now coming to the AS ABAP processes. So in the last screen we saw what are the instances. Okay, and now we will go deep into it, like what are the processes inside each of those instances. So the first example, the first line which in the top screen, what you can see over here are the two processes. One is your message server, and the second is your NQ server. These are the two server. Then you have the web dispatcher. Then you have the gateway, the RSC gateway. Then you have the IC-man, Internet Connection Manager. Then you have the ABAP dispatcher. These are the components. Under the dispatcher, you have different work processes. These are the work processes. D stands for dialogue. B stands for background work process. U stands for update. And S stands for spool work process. So basically, these are the four types of work process. Now let us take each and every processes and what does they do. So moving forward to the next screen, okay, it is not here. So let me say here only. So message server, what is a message server? So basically the function of a message server is like a bridge. You can say it's like a bridge or it's like a connector. What it does, it bridges or it connects all the other application server instances. Okay, it connects all the other application server instances. What are those? So here if you see in this screen, so this is one of my application server, primary application server. Okay, this is one application server instance, primary application server. This is another application server instance, which is your additional application server instance. On host C also, I will have an additional application server. On host this multiple host, I will be having an additional application server. Now, how and in each of these additional application server, in each of these application server, you have the dispatcher. Now, how will the system identify that if the request from user A is coming? So, to which dispatcher, to which application server was this request passed on to? Do you get my point? The query over here. Okay, let me give you a simple example on this. If you have worked in your shifts and all, a simple example is that you will have, for example, if you have a team, you have a technical team which is managing some, giving some support to different users. So what will happen? You will get tickets on a daily basis. That is your incident which will be raised by the customer. Okay, so every day, for example, on average, you receive around say like 40 or 50 incidents. You receive around 40 and 50 incidents daily, and in the team you have a manager, and under the manager you have around 10 people who work for it, the 10 workforce. You have a workforce of 10 people and one manager. So all the incidents, all the tickets, they come to the manager. What the manager does, he assigns the tickets to different members of his team. Okay, for example, if he receives 50 tickets, he will assign 5 tickets to member one, 5 tickets to two, five. Then similarly, he will assign 5 tickets to each of the members, and then he will keep a track of it. Okay, he'll get an update from member the team member one. Okay, what about your 5 tickets? How much you have completed? What is the update on that?
So it is
Yes.
actually D means dialog instance will be dispatched interactive jobs. Any update, any query or update that will go under update. Any background job, batch job that will go to under the batch dispatcher. And yes, I
No, no,
forget.
I don't get your point. What is it?
Now you're saying that which dispatcher role,
Mm-hmm.
above dispatcher role
Mm-hmm.
through your primary application instance.
No, no, right now I'm not discussing about the web dispatcher role. I'm discussing about the role of the message server. We
Okay,
are discussing the role of the message server, not about the dispatcher.
okay, okay,
Okay.
okay,
So if you compare with this, so what happens? Your message server is like a manager. It is about the manager. The role of the dispatcher is something like similar to a team lead, which is under the manager. Okay. So let
okay.
me let me let me just modify the example which I gave. So earlier the example which I gave was that you have a manager. Under the manager, you have a team of the manager has a team of 10 people. So just leave that. So what for example what has there is a manager. Under the manager, he has a team. He has a four different teams. Okay, four different teams of 5 people each. Under each team there is 5 people, and in that for every team there is one team leader, TL. So now whatever incidents come to the manager, what he does, for example, he receives a 50 or 60 incidents, for example, 60 incidents. So what he will do, he will assign 15 incidents to each of the team. 15 to team 1, 15 to team 2, 15 to team 3, 15 to team 4. He will assign the incident to the team lead of each team. The team lead will then assign those incidents to his team members. Is this example clear?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is how. So you have a manager. Under the manager, you have team leads. Under the team lead, you have the team different team. So say if you compare this example over here, so your message server is your manager. Your message server is your manager. Your dispatcher is the team lead, and the work processes which you see over here, the work processes that you see over here, these are the team. These are the team members. Okay, and these are the different teams. Okay, this is team one, a team one with one team lead and its team member. This is the team two. This is a team two with one team lead and its team members. Again, on the host C, you will have team three. On the host four, you have team the different team. Is this clear with everyone?
Where is the message server will reside above that?
Yes, message server is it is a bridge or it is an intermediary. It will connect all the different teams or all the different application servers. So whatever requests come, it will go to the message server. Message server will be handling, it will passing all the directions to all the different teams.
Now my question is, why message server? Your message server will reside on the central instance. Correct?
Yes, it will reside on the central instance. Yes.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, go for it.
So there is only one message server in the whole system. There is only one message server. See, this is the only message server. And what is a system? See, all of this is a system. A
Landscape, full landscape.
system includes all the application servers inside that SID. For example, you have a development server, the production, you have a production server. The SID of the production server is, for example, PRD. Under that SID, whatever application server you have, that becomes one system. So in the whole system, you will only have one instance of the message server, no multiple instances. Only one instance of the message server. So you have only one message server, and you will have multiple application servers. You will have multiple application servers. In every application server, you will have one dispatcher, and under that dispatcher, you have multiple work processes. So whatever request comes, if see for example, if it's a single connection, if it's a only standalone system, then the role of the message server is not that you can say critical or important. But in case if you have multiple application servers, if you have multiple application servers, then you will not directly connect to the dispatcher of that system. You will connect to the message server. The message server will actually do the load balancing. It will collect all the requests from the users. It will collect all the requests from the users and it will distribute to the different dispatchers. The dispatcher again will collect all the requests which is coming from the message server. It will queue it. The dispatcher will queue all the requests, and one by one, as the work processes becomes idle, it will provide one by one over this request to those work processes.
So every instance will have a one dispatcher, above dispatcher.
Every application server instance we have one dispatcher. So here, if you see in this example, in your case, we have one dispatcher over here. This is our dispatcher.
Yeah, as of now we have created only
one application server. So that's
application
why we have
server.
only one. If you create, if I install another application server, if I install another VM, if I create a new VM, I create an additional install an additional application server on that VM, then I can see this output also on that VM. So that will be my additional application server. So the number of additional application servers in every application server instance, I will have one dispatcher.
Under the dispatcher will be WP.
What would come again?
Under the every dispatcher will be several
The work process.
work
Yes,
process.
under the dispatcher, it will be work process. So your dispatcher is acting like a team lead. Okay, whatever request comes to it, it will be distributed among the team members. It will track all the what is happening with it. Okay, what is the dialog process doing, whether it is completed. As soon as the dialog process completed one request and it becomes free idle, it will assign another request to the dialog process.
So CS will be having that message server, and message server will work as a
Message
manager.
server and NQ server. So CS will be having your message server and NQ server. So
NQ server. Yeah.
this example, this is our ASCS instance. See, this output is coming from the ASCS instance. Under this ASCS instance, you have your message server and the NQ server. Is that clear?
Yeah. Can you make that this text little bigger, if possible?
Which one?
This text, that comments,
Okay. Okay.
then it will be more visible to us. Same settings. Yeah. Font. Yeah.
Is it okay?
Thank you. No, there only. Okay.
Is it clear?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. So here it is. So this is my ASCS instance. This is the ASCS instance which contains my message server and my NQ server. And this is my primary application server which contains the dispatcher. This is the dispatcher. This is the gateway, and this is the IC1. Is it clear with everyone?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So good, very good. See, understanding this basics is very essential. See, normally you can do bigger activities. You can do a system refresh. You can do a system copy. But I have seen many people. They are still not clear about the basic fundamentals. What is this and what is that? So if you are clear with the fundamentals, it will be very easier for you to do the troubleshooting.
Yeah. That's why I'm asking silly
till,
questions.
till the time everything is working perfectly, now you can do bigger activities. You can do a system refresh, you can do a backup, you can do a restore. But the day when the day comes when if something is not working as expected, that is the
Troubleshooting.
time when you will have to understand it. Why is the system behaving so strangely? So in that time, if you have that understanding or that clarity, the basic fundamentals of your strong, then only you will understand, okay, why is it giving the problem over here. Okay, so here it is. So we have understood like what are the different instances in your application server, and within that instances, what are the components. So we have taken up the message server. What is the message server? Message server is a connection between, it is a bridge, or it is an intermediary between the different application server instances. Okay, it manages different application server instances. So in case if you have multiple application servers, so here if you see the example here, yesterday when we created the connection, in our SAP logon program, see, we gave the Okay, here, if you see the connection that we created, we directly gave the host name of our application server, the primary, the directly the host A. We give the detail of the host A. Okay, over here. So now this is when you have a single instance that you want directly connect to. But in case if you want to connect to multiple server, if you want to do the load balancing, then this connection will not work, because if you have four servers, application servers in your environment, and if you use this type of connection, it will only connect to one of the application server. So in that case, what you need to do, you have to create a connection with a group.
Group login.
Instead of creating an application server, you have to create a group server connection. In this group server connection, here you see, can you see the option over here? Here you have to mention the message server. You will give the host name or the IP address of that server, or that system on which your message server is running.
That means central instance.
Yes, you can say the center. Actually, SAP has discontinued the use of this word, the CI and the DB. Normally, earlier it was called the central instance and the DB instance. But now they have removed this naming convention, and they have followed now what is called as the primary application server and additional application server.
Okay.
Previously, they used to call the primary application server as CI, central instance, and the additional application servers as dialog instances. But now they have just changed the naming convention, so it's up to you. So here, if you are connecting, if you have multiple application servers, then you will not directly connect to the dispatcher. You will connect to the message server. The message server then will do the load balancing. Is that point clear? Yes, everyone, is it clear?
Yeah,
Yes,
clear.
yes,
Very
yes,
clear.
yes.
Now message server is done. Okay. Now next is your NQ server. So now we'll take up the topic of your NQ server. What is an NQ server? What it does? So let me go to the screen for the NQ server. Okay, this is an example of your NQ server. What happens in an NQ server? Now, what happens over here is this lock management. What the NQ server, as the name suggests, it manages the locks. What are locks in SAP? To understand what are the locks in SAP. So now, what happens? For example, we have example. We have two examples over here. Okay, so here is one user. Here is the user called as Martin, and here is another user called as Nicole. Now, what happens? These two users, for example, they belong to the same team. Okay, for example, the finance team. Both of these users belong to the same finance team. Now, for example, this Nico Martin user, he has opened his SAP GUI server, this program, SAP logon pad. He is connected to one application server, that is the, for example, the production server. He is connected to the production server of your server. Now he is connected here. He has been connected to the web dispatcher, and he has opened one key code. For example, he has opened one something called sales order or something purchase order. He has created for modifying it or to edit that document. He has opened it. Now the request goes to the dispatcher. The dispatcher, what it does, it first checks with the message server. It tells the message server, okay, this user Martin is requesting to modify this document, or this screen, or this transaction. He's modifying this data, this data. So what the message server does, it goes to the NQ server and asks the NQ server whether the data that the Martin user is asking to modify is someone else using that data set. And Q server goes into its table and check, and it says to the user that no, this data set is open, nobody is using it right now. Okay, so when they get the confirmation from NQ server, then it message server asks the NQ server to put a lock on that data set. So inside its table, inside the NQ server's table, what it does, it just enters one record. It creates a new record, a new entry in the data table, that this data set from this and this value, from this information, is now locked by the user Martin. So NQ server puts a lock on the table, and it updates the message server. Message server tells the dispatcher, okay, this data set is now locked and it is open. It is this Martin user can now modify the data set. Now he's and the Martin user can now start the modifying this data set. As soon as the dispatcher gets this confirmation from message server, what it does, it forwards the request to the dialog. It forwards the request to the dialog. The dialog goes to the database. Fetches that information. For example, he wants to change some document like for example ABC123. That's the name of the document. So the dispatcher goes into the database. It fetches that document and it gives the Martin. It opens the document on the Martin user's PC screen in an edit for in modify a change for in change option. So now the user can change that record. So he now Martin user is working on that document. He is doing some changes in the document. Simultaneously, parallelly, what happens? This user Nicole, she also has some to change in the same document. She also has to make some changes in the same document. She also opens her SAP GUI program. She also opens her SAP GUI program and then she logs in into the system. The request goes to the dispatcher. Okay, again she's requesting for the same document to be opened. Now this request goes to the dispatcher. Now will contact the message server. Message server can contact the NQ server and ask him whether this data set, this document number, this and this, is it open for edit. The NQ server checks his table, the checks his record, and it says no. This record or this document, this data set is locked. Is locked by the user Martin. He's making some changes in the user. So till the time he finishes his activity, his task, and he saves that document, no one else can get an modified permission on this document. This information is passed on to the message server. The message server goes and updates the dispatcher. Now the dispatcher understands. The dispatcher gets that this document is not. This document is not available for editing. What it now does, it goes to the database. It only it only reads the data and it only loads the data on the screen of the Nicole user in a read-only format. She will see the screen, she will see the document in it, but she will won't be able to modify the document. Okay, if I think if someone has worked in case I think if somewhere if you go someone has opened a transaction code. If someone has opened a transaction code and if another users comes and try to open the same transaction or same data set, he will get an error message or an like alert or notification in the status bar saying that this data is not open for editing. Let me check if I can show it specifically.
Yeah, even for SU01T code, we frequently get this.
Yes, it does. Yes, the same thing. I'm going to check it over here first. Let me log in with this system. Now, if I go into SU01, okay, here in the SU01, I think there are only 2 or 3 users right now in the system. I think 3 users. SAP Start, DDIC, and there is another SDM or some user. Okay, this is SDMI user. So if I open the DDIC user and I open it in the change option, I'm opening the user in the change option. Now again, if I go and if I open another transaction, new GUI window, I again go into SU01 and again I request for a change option for DDIC. Can you see over here? In the maintenance of user DDIC logged by user SAP. So it is not allowing me to again open this record in edit format, in change option. It is giving me error over here. In some other T code, what it does, it will open the screen, it will open the program, but you will find that the options inside that program you cannot modify it, you cannot edit anything because it is being added or it is in the change. It is some user is making any change to that record, so that is why you will not get that in a editable format. So this is something over. So this comes from your change request. Okay. So this and where are the change maintained? If you go into SM12, SM12 is the T code for your lock. This is called as the lock management. what it is doing right now, it is compiling the program which you are calling. So normally this is happens the first time. The first time when you do an installation, for every T code that you call, it will do a compile. It will compile the program as per your server's architecture, as per your server's CPU architecture. It compiles each and every program. So this is a very like frustrating thing. So if you hand over the system currently in this state, the users will start complaining, "Arey, whatever, but whenever you click on it, whenever you open any transaction code, it is taking time." So normally what happens before releasing the system, you run an SAP load generator. It's a P code SGen. So you run this P code and you compile all the programs, all the objects which are there in the system, and it takes time. I think there are in an S4 HANA system there are almost 5 to 6 lakhs of objects. Okay, so far, in case if I think someone is not familiar with the lakh format, I think G might not be familiar with the lakh format. So 1 lakh means 100,000. So when I say 5 to 6 lakh, it means 500 to 600,000 objects in the S4 HANA system. So you can compile these objects beforehand, and then thereafter you release the system to the user. Okay, so here it is client 000 user and number of logs. If I search for the logs, see, I can see a lock over here. Can you see the lock over here? What is this lock over here? It was at what time this which user has created the lock? Can you see on which object he has put a lock? He has put a lock on the USR04 object. Which argument for the user DDIC? So this is the lock over here. So till that time this lock is there in the system, the another user cannot get access to that key code with that user. Okay, so since this is already open over here, another user will not be able to get the same access to this T code with this same argument or the same document or the same user. What you can also do, you can also, if in case if you know that some user had opened and record, but his connection got disconnected, so that lock will still be there in the system even if the user has got disconnected from the system. In that case, what you can do is that you can delete the record from the system. So I am deleting this record from the system. So yeah, okay, it is asking me delete logs that are still in use may lead to inconsistencies. So you have to be very clear what you are doing. So normally sometimes happens some you have to manually delete the logs which are more than 24 hours old. So here I'm deleting the log over here. See, once I delete the log, now let me go and see this screen. It is still over there. Now let me try to open another screen with the same user. SU01 DDIC. Again, I'm opening it into change mode. Can you see I was able to now open this screen without it giving any error? Why? Because I deleted the lock from the system. Is it clear with everyone? See, I came out of the screen. I came out of the SU01 screen. Now, if I again go into SM12, again to pull a search, it will not show me any lock. Why? Because I have not opened any key code which is there for editing and asking for editing any record or any data or something. So here I don't see any record. In your production system, development system, you will see a long list of logs on the system. Okay, and sometimes it goes up to like say 100,000 also. Everybody clear with this point? Yes, can we move forward?
What is this T code SM12, right?
SM12, yes, it is SM12. SM12 is for log management. You can see all the logs in the system. What SAP has put what logs on what data set, on which tables, on which data set you can see.
Yeah, sure.
Yes. Can we move forward?
Yes.
Okay. So here it is. Let me again come back to the PPT. So are we clear with this concept of lock management? What happens in a lock management?
Yes.
Okay. So coming back to a previous screen. So till now we have taken up two processes over here. One is your message server, and the second is your NQ server. We are through with these two processes. Okay. Now third comes your web dispatcher. Actually, we are not. I will not go into detail into this web dispatcher because it's that in our example in our applications the installation that we did, we have not done a web dispatcher installation. Okay. So normally, if you see in the previous screen, it's an optional part. If you see in this screen, these two are an optional part. These two topics are an optional part. Web dispatcher and the RFC gateway inside the ASCS. So these two are an optional part. Where at the time of installation, when you install an S4HANA application server, you will get a screen where it asks whether you want to install a web dispatcher integrated into the ASCS instance. So we don't select over there. So this is an optional part. If you want to install, you have to select at that screen, and then only it will install the web dispatcher and the RSC. So there are two different check boxes. So you can either check both of them or you can check either of them. It's up to you. Okay. So now going forward. So coming back here, so just give me a very brief introduction or like explanation of what is a web dispatcher. Now, before explaining a web dispatcher, because I need you to understand what is the ICM, what is this service? Because if you understand this service, then it will become very easier for you to understand the web dispatcher. Now, what is an ICM? So I think yesterday I gave you an example that in the start of history, in the starting history of SAP, it only used to work on the dialog protocol. That is only SA from SAP GUI. You only used to you only had you only had access to the SAP application through the SAP GUI program or tool or utility. Okay, but as after some time, in somewhere in the 90s, in the mid of 90s, when the internet was booming, people wanted to access this application server from the internet also. Internet means HTTP protocol. HTTP protocol means HTML pages. So they, instead of using SAP GUI tool, they want to use the system from their browsers. Okay, and as and when it has started, where it has evolved to a lot more. Earlier, you had very like dumb pages for this accessing the application, but now with this introduction or after the introduction of Fiori, SAP Fiori, it has become very it's a norm like to use the browser to access your application server. Most of the user, if currently if you like observe in your organization, in any company, in any organization, you will find that more than 50%, sometimes like 60 to 70% or maybe 80% users, they don't know anything about SAP GUI. They will be directly using the system through their maybe from their mobile, maybe from their tablet, or maybe from their PC through browsers. They will log into the Fiori Launchpad. They will have different tiles over there, and based on their roles and responsibilities, they will have different tiles. And from that tiles, they will be using the application server. Even if they want to create, for example, if someone is from the HR team, if they want to create a new record for an employee, they will directly go to the Fiori Launchpad, and they will click the app for creating an employee record, and they will directly pull all the fields from the browser, and they will save it. No need for them to go use the SAP GUI. So now everything, now the traffic has now moved significantly from the dialog protocol to the HTTP protocol. Most of the users now use the SAP Fiori or to the HTTP interface. Now what happens in this? Yesterday I explained you that every all the request is handled by the ABAP dispatcher. All the requests from the which is sent by the user is handled by the ABAP dispatcher. But ABAP dispatcher, the native language of ABAP dispatcher is it only understands the dialog protocol. It only understands dialog protocol. It doesn't understand HTTP. Okay, so the web dispatcher doesn't understand HTTP protocol or anything about HTTP. It cannot interpret the it cannot interpret the request coming from a browser. Okay, so that is the why you have an intermediary, or you can say you have a translator or an interpreter. That is your ICM, Internet Connection Manager. What happens? All the requests, if you see this screen, all the requests coming from the browser, all the requests which is coming from the browser. See here, all this request coming from the browser, you can see over here. It goes to the ICM. Here, all the requests coming from the browser, HTTPS protocol. Anything coming from the browser goes to the ICM. What the ICM does, it then interprets it. It opens the HTML tags. It opens the HTML tags. It takes out the command or the instruction from within that tags, and then it passes that information to your dispatcher. Dispatcher receives that information. It interprets. It processes that request, and it that forwards the output to the ICM. ICM again wraps it into the HTML tags and forward and return it back to the requester or the user.
Who is on his business client?
Business client is a similar tool to your SAP GUI. Okay, the only difference is that in SAP GUI, you can only make connection to for your dialog protocol. You can only make connection to connect to directly to your dialog protocol. But in a business client, you can create both types of connection. You can also create you can
Direction
also
is
create a
both sides.
connection for that URLs also, browser URLs. And
Okay, okay.
when we did the installation for SAP GUI, if you see here in the same location from where we installed SAP GUI, here you will see here it is SAP NWBC setup. This is NetWeaver Business Client. So yesterday we installed SAP
GUI.
GUI above it. If you
Yeah.
want to install, if you want to like have an experience on that, you can install it from here. SAP Business Client only.
So depend upon the scope, what to
Depend
use
upon
and
the
I am saying
it's up to you. It's up to you.
as per requirements.
Yes, it's up to you. That is it. Okay, so the only positive or the only you can say benefit of using SAP NetWeaver Business Client is that you can also store the URLs in the connection. You can also store URLs in the connection. Okay, here in your SAP GUI you cannot save any URL. In SAP GUI here you cannot if you create a new connection, the new connection will only ask you for this type of it will only ask you for this detail. You cannot save a URL over here. In business client, you can save a connection to your dialog connection also, and you can save an HTTP connection also.
So if you use the business client, so you can see the Fiori. That's the difference between this client and that
Yes,
one.
for your Fury Launchpad, for the URL for your Fury Launchpad, you don't have to save that URL into some of your text file or somewhere in your browser. You don't. You can directly save it inside your business client. You can create a connection to your Fury Launchpad, even for other also. For example, your CRM UI, for example, your SOA Manager UI, and there are different kinds of UIs available. For example, your DBA Cockpit UIs also, so you can directly save it into your business client. You don't need to go inside, log in into for example, for DBA cockpit. No, you don't have to log in into SAP GUI, run the DBA cockpit code, and then open the web interface of that DBA cockpit.
Okay.
Is it clear?
Yeah.
Okay, so here, so I think now we are through with it. Like, what is a internet connection manager? What is the function of an internet connection manager? So what it does, all the requests coming from the web. Okay, it may be coming for your web application server or your Java application server. Maybe for your web application or maybe for your Java application. So any type of rigor or any targeted to any application server, a web or Java. So ICM is the middleman. It will take up the request. It will do the interpretation of and it will pass it on to the targeted application server instance, it will get the data output from the application server instance, and then again it will do some packaging, and then it will return it back to the URL, return it back to the web. Okay, so I'm clear with the Internet Communication Manager. Okay, so now we are seeing what is the SAP Web Dispatcher. What is SAP Web Dispatcher? Now it becomes very simple for you to understand. So SAP Web Dispatcher, see, this is your SAP Web Dispatcher. If you compare it to the screen over here, this is the message server which interconnects different application server instances. The message server, it interconnects it links different application server instances. So what does your web dispatcher does? It interlinks different internet connection manager. Okay, so if you see the previous screen over here,
so ultimately from ICM, it is going to the above dispatcher only, correct?
if you have a web dispatcher in place, if you have a web dispatcher, then only it will go to the web dispatcher. If you have not installed the web dispatcher at the time of installation, then there is no web dispatcher.
Then where it will go, the request, how it will?
Okay, see, normally, the reason here is that you can install a web dispatcher integrated into your ASCS instance. Okay, that is optional part. So why they have made it optional? The reason they have made it optional, because now you can install a separate system and install it as a web dispatcher. No need to integrate it into your ASCS instance. Do you get my point?
So it will come through Fury or like this somewhere?
No, that is for Fury. Yes, for Fury URLs, you will have a web dispatcher. Okay, the what I'm trying to explain here is that, see, here they have given option that you can install a web dispatcher. You can install a web dispatcher in your ASCS instance.
Okay.
Okay, but why have they made it optional? They have made it optional because, see, now, for example, you have three different systems. You have a development system, you have a quality system, and you have a production system. Okay, is it clear?
Yeah.
Okay, so now in case, for example, you have multiple application server for your quality also and for your production also. So now if you go with the embedded option, you have to install to install a web dispatcher in your quality's ASCS instance. It will, and it will also install a web dispatcher in your production's ASCS instance. This will be two separate web dispatchers integrated into the ASCS instance. But now, what the practical approach right now is that instead of having these two options, you don't install it integrated into your ASCS instance, but you will install a separate system and you will install a web dispatcher on it. And on this web dispatcher, you can have multiple requests coming to it, and based on the URL, it will redirect to different systems. If the
Okay,
request is
okay.
coming for the development system, if the web dispatcher will redirect to the web development system. If it's coming for the quality, it will forward to the quality. If it's coming for the production, it will forward to the production.
Now, actually, my web browser, that request coming, HTTP request is coming to ICM. From the ICM, it is distributing to the different WP.
Application server instances, yes.
Yeah. So web dispatcher is the same work, whatever is doing through HTTP or different.
Okay. Yes. Let me again see. If you see this first screen, now the similar way you have multiple web dispatchers.
Correct.
Okay. You have multiple web dispatchers.
In different application server.
Yes, in different application servers, you have multiple web dispatchers. Now, if you connect directly to this web dispatcher, so the second web dispatcher will lie idle only, na? Because no request will go to the second web dispatcher. There will be no load balancing. So
Yeah,
what do?
correct.
You connect to the message server. The message server will then do the load balancing.
Right.
Okay, whatever request come, it will forward some request to the this first
Node
web
on
dispatcher.
application server, on application server 2, like this.
Similar in this case, you have multiple ICMs on multiple application servers.
Yeah, correct.
If you directly connect to this ICM, this ICM will get remain idle.
Correct.
So how will you do the load balancing? That load balancing is done by the web dispatcher.
Okay. Fine. Okay. It is like equivalent to that message server.
Yes, the same thing, but the message server handles dialog request. Your web dispatcher will handle HTTPS request.
HTTPS request, right?
Okay, it will do the load balancing for you. It is a URL based load balancing.
Yeah.
Whatever there is there in the URL, when you configure the web dispatcher, you go and configure rules in the web dispatcher. Similar rules that you configure, like for example, in your firewall, in your network firewall. Okay, this request coming on this port number, this
Yeah.
should be redirected to this system. So those kind of rules will be there in the web dispatcher.
Okay.
Okay, so
To
within the same.
load balancing.
Yes. Okay. For example, within the same system, you will have different rules for it. For example, this rule coming for this system one, and it will check with the port. Okay, for port number 80, forward it to this. Say, if port number this, forward it to this service. Port number this, forward it to there. So
Got it.
that is the role of your web dispatcher. So it acts as a load balancer or interlink between your multiple ICMs.
Okay.
So I think we are clear with this.
Yeah.
Now
Thank you.
next comes your RSC gateway. RSC gateway is a simple option over here. What is an RSC gateway? Now, what happens when two systems, which two systems? Two SAP systems. When two SAP systems want to communicate with each other. When two SAP systems want to communicate with each other, their primary mode of communication is RSC. That is remote function call. So their primary, it's a you can say it's an interface between two SAP systems. They communicate with each other through RFC. So what is an RFC? You go into SM59, you'll create an RFC. You will give the target system to which you want to connect. You will give the host name. You will give the port number of the target system. You will give the username, password, the client number of the target system, and then you can communicate or connect to that target system. So that is called an RFC. Okay, a simple thing is that, for example, two people want to communicate with each other, then both their primary mode of communication is, say, for example, telephone. So, user one and user two both want to communicate with what they will do. They will pick up their receiver. You will dial the number of the user two, and when you dial the number, the ring. What happens? The call goes to the tower. The tower actually is you can say it's an inter. The tower connects the user A to the user B. The user A dials the number, the request or the call goes to the tower. The tower then searches for, okay, this is going to user B. Then you forward the call to the user B, and the user B will get a ring on his mobile or handset, whatever it is. Okay, so the tower. So this RSC gateway is the same thing. It acts as a gateway. If you have two SAP systems and they want to communicate with each other, so this RSC gateway will do the bridging. It will build up. It will establish a connection with the other system. All the requests will go through the RSC gateway, as the name suggests, gateway. I have a screen also over here. This is for the RSC gateway. So it's a simple example over here how the RSC gateway functions. So for example, you have multiple systems. You have multiple systems for your, for example, this is an SAP CRM system. This is an SAP ECC system. SAP ECC system with multiple application servers. This is one application server instance. This is another application server instance. If these systems want to communicate with each other, so you can see how they do it. The web dispatcher communicates with the dialog box process. If the program wants to communicate with another system, the request will go to the RSC gateway. The RSC gateway will then bridge the connection to the another RSC gateway of the target system, and that system will then connect to the web dispatcher and fetch the result from there. Is it clear? Yes, is it clear?
Yes, bro.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we will stop it now. I will take a break of 10-15 minutes and we will continue after it. Okay.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Muzaffar, till what time will be the class today?
It depends on the topic, but at least I think we have like now covered I think 6, 7:30, 8:30, maybe for another 1.5 hours, I think.
Okay, all right.
You are in which time zone? You are in India or somewhere else?
Yeah, UK.
Okay, so I think you may be like 4 hours before. I think it will be somewhere 5 o'clock at your location.
Yeah, yeah. It's 4:20 now. Yeah.
4:20. Okay. Okay. No problem. Yeah. Thank you.